What do I do? Let me get my picture up. Hello, everybody. I'm working on getting the picture up. This is the way things go with new live streams. Okay. I mean, yay! Oh my goodness. How's everybody doing? Thank you guys for being patient. I've been trying to figure out all the new stuff. Oh my gosh, it's all new to me. I'm just learning how to get this stuff going. So thanks for joining. I see so many people on tonight. Thanks for taking a little time out of your evening. I see, oh, Owasso, Debbie, hey, hello, Georgia. Good to see you guys. Alabama. We had some chit chat time before we came on, and I hope you guys can hear me. So if you can, give me some kind of thumbs up so I know that you're all able to hear me and I'm just not talking into nowhere. So tonight we're going to have a little bit of fun. I have been dying to start something like this. I've had my channel for a while. Oh, Debbie! Oh, you guys, my friend, it's so funny, Debbie. I'm so glad you're on here because I am getting ready. I'm going to start on my quilting journey, and you were a big part of it. So stay tuned. You're going to be mentioned. I love it. I love that you're here. So I'm so excited. I've been wanting to do this for so long, and I've been kind of scared to jump in. Oh, thank you for telling me you have some background music. See, you guys are going to be my guinea pigs tonight because I don't know what I'm doing. I am literally learning. So hopefully that just went away. But good to see you guys. I have been wanting to do this for a very long time. And like I said, I've had so many people mentioning, hey, why don't you do a live stream? I'd love for you to do a live stream. And I didn't have equipment. I didn't have the time. I didn't have anything figured out how I was going to do this. So my husband and I really sat and talked about it. And he's like, you've got to do this. Everyone would love it and you would love it. So here we are. And I'm doing it from my quilt room. And I know that you guys enjoy hanging out with me in my studio. So what we're going to do tonight, I'm going to talk a little bit about my quilting journey, where I started, how I got started. And a couple of people are in the chat that had a lot to do with that. So I'm glad they're here. And then kind of how my room has evolved. I've had a lot of questions about what this is, how did it start and how it looks today. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that and give you maybe some inspiration for your own studio, because I think that's important. Hello from Arkansas, my home state. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about our blog along that we're going to start doing. Hopefully everybody will be able to get their book. It's not a very expensive book. It's not like most of the things that we spend a lot of our money on, but I think you're going to like it. So thank you for being here again. I'm going to get started and we're going to talk a little bit about my quilting journey, where it started. Hello from Maryland. So how it started, my friend Kara, who happens to be in the chat, so everybody say hello to Kara. She had come to me one day and asked if I wanted to take a quilting 101 class. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'd love to. My grandmother quilted. And I, as a little girl, I would climb under her. She went to what they call it, ladies auxiliary. I don't know if they still have that or not, but it was at her church. And I would climb under her table with all of her quilting friends at the church, and they would be all sitting there stitching. And I just loved it, but I never did it. But she did buy me my first sewing machine. And you guys are going to love this story because when we first took our Quilting 101 class, I showed up and we ended up sitting there, and I started working on my first block. And my machine broke. Debbie Davis, do you remember my machine breaking? And I was just mortified because I hadn't sewn with this machine in 100 years. And so I started working on, they brought me a new machine. Of course, they bring out the Cadillac of all machines. And I was like, oh my gosh, this machine is amazing. And so what happens to me the next week, the next thing I know, here comes my friend, Kara, who's on this call. she walks in and she has bought that machine. Of course she did. And so I was so jealous. I was so worked up about this. I couldn't believe that she went and bought that machine, and I'm sitting here clunking around on my Walmart machine, which, you know what? It did the job. I love that machine. And speaking of machines, I'm going to show you that machine. Hold 1 second. I'm going to show you the machine that I don't know. It looks pink in this. I don't know why this looks pink. Hold on. You guys are my guinea pigs today, so you get to figure out all this stuff with me. Let's see. Can you guys see it? Or does it look like pink? I think it looks pink. Oh, did I just fix it? Maybe I just fixed it. This was my first machine, and there's Miss Debbie Davis right there in the background. I think it's hysterical. Debbie, it's so funny that you're on here, and there's your little picture right there. But this was my little brother machine, and it was broke, and it didn't work. It was terrible. But also, there's my friends. This was our very first Quilting 101. There's Kara up there back next to me, and that's Jeannie's little face. And this is how she takes pictures, you guys. Like she'll always do these little, do you guys remember Wilson? I don't remember what show that was. Home Improvement. Yeah, he'd be ticking up over the fence. That's what she does in all of her pictures, and it's hilarious. So this was our Quilt 101 class, and we got started, and this was my very first set of fabric that I bought. And my daughter was going to OSU, and I thought, well, I want to OSU something, but I don't want all like black and orange. And so they had this beautiful, yummy fabric in the quilt shop. And we started pulling together different values. And so Debbie taught me a lot about picking values of if we were going to, and we were doing a log cabin quilt. And this was the first time I'd been exposed to any of this stuff. So I was learning along the way, but this combination spoke to me. I loved that it wasn't just black and orange. It wasn't just a typical, black and white or black and orange sportsy quilt. I could still support OSU, go Pokes, with the orange, but maybe bring in some different colors. So how did this end up looking? Yes, it was Eleanor Burns' log cabin. And this is the finished product, and that's Jeannie. They were holding hers. Kara, I think you were sick or something, if I recall. So you didn't get to be there for the last display, but this was my very, very, very first quilt. And this was in 2018. So, I mean, I haven't been quilting all that long. But I love quilting. And so that kind of gives you an idea of where I started. That was my very first quilt. I loved it. It was just a lot of fun. And Debbie will tell you, I got that quilt going, and then I turned around. I was like, okay, it's time I want to pick out my next set of fabric. Right. And so I started working on my next quilt, and it was just so much fun. So log cabin, if you're a beginner, log cabin is such a great one to start with because it's fast. You can chain piece it. Once you kind of get the strategy down and how it works, it's really quick, and you can have pretty fast satisfaction getting a quilt put together. So anyway, I think it's fun. It's wonderful. It's a great one to start with, but it's Eleanor Burns Log Cabin, Quilt in a Day. It's fantastic. Highly recommend that book if you're looking for something for a beginner, or if you know someone that's not a quilter yet, but wants to get started. It's a really good one to get started with. So anyway, I hope that gives you a little bit of fun and inspiration from the very beginning. I'm happy to answer any questions you have about how we got started. She would shop during, yes, Debbie, I know. I was really bad about that. But so were my friends, and you didn't complain because you worked there, and I'm sure you appreciated that I would spend money there. So anyways, I did start quilting, Marcia. I started quilting in 2018. So, not all that long. I've been going about 7 years. So it feels like I've been doing it way longer than 7 years, but no. You are doing pixel quilts. Yes, I have started doing some pixel quilts. I did. Rochelle actually has my pixel quilt, and she's working on getting that quilted for me, but I haven't gotten back with her on what exactly I want done because she's going to do some custom work on this one. So it'll be kind of special. Um, so anyway, that's kind of where I started. Feel free to ask me any other questions about that. And now I'm going to switch gears a little bit and show you how my room started. And you are going to crack up at this. Okay. Is everybody ready to see my very first quilt room? Okay, here's my very first quilt room. Yep. That was my living room in my old house. This is where it all began. You can see my log cabin right there as I started. You can see John's knee over there as he would watch me sew. And so this is exactly how I started. I didn't start with some fancy quilt space. I didn't have this big quilt room that, I spent all these hours in when I first started. It was just my sewing machine. And there was a little glass table that we had at the house, and I just pulled it into the living room so I could watch TV, because that has not changed. Am I right? Like, you've got to have all the things that you normally would enjoy. So snacks, television, watching true crime. That's kind of what was my jam. Now that night you can see SEC is on. So John was probably watching something and I was going to hang out with him because that's like his love language. But that's my first quilt room, and that's okay. I think a lot of us think we've got to have this beautiful space and we've got to enjoy all this, prettiness. And that's just not true. You quilt where you can. And yes, dining room tables. First quilt rooms are a lot of dining room tables. And so this is kind of where I started. And I wanted you to see that because I do think a lot of people feel a lot of pressure. Even on my channel, sometimes I'll feel a little bit weird because I think, oh gosh, I don't want everyone else out there to think, oh, I've got to have that in order to start my quilting journey, because that is just not the case. Start with what you have and go and do it. So that was my first quilt room. Now, when we moved into this house, I was like, okay, now I want my own space, right? I know I want my own space. But you guys, when I just first moved into this house, this room was kind of dark. It was brown, and it was okay. But I was just happy to have my own space. But I'm going to show you what it looked like when we first moved in. It looks nothing like what it looks like today. And the reason I want to show you this is because your room evolves, right? Your space evolves. You do not have to have everything figured out from the very beginning. You just need the basics, right? You just need your sewing machine and a table and a cozy spot to sit. And, you need a place to cut. You need a place to press, a place to store your fabric. But if you're moving into your room and it's just starting out, don't think that you can't just progress and evolve as you go, because you can. I think I look back at this and I look at this picture and it kind of makes me giggle because even the bookcase in this picture, it's kind of funny to me. The bookcase in this picture is still in here, except it's even evolved. I've added glass doors to it. And so but everything in that room has changed, and that's okay, because that's part of the process. You get to kind of work on what you're going to do and how you're going to build your room and make it work for you. So this is how it started. This is the next progression of how it looked. And I love this too, because this was, you can see a new table in there. And what I found was this, great Martelli table. And if you're not familiar with Martelli, Martelli has wonderful equipment that goes up and down. It's very ergonomic, great cutting spaces. And they've even evolved since this picture. But one of the things that I really struggled with was the color. It was black. And guess what? Martelli now has white. Of course they do, right? Like, after I sell my Martelli, they go and get a white one. But I loved that table. Kara still has her table and it's fantastic. But you don't have to have that. You can use folding tables. You can put legs under your folding tables to lift them up. All those kinds of things are out there on the internet. You can buy them. But this was, my splurge that year, and it was a splurge. And if you ask Kara, so we call her my nudger, and she'll do the nudging, and she'll make all the hard phone calls for me. Like when we're at a quilt show and I want to spend, quite a bit of money on something. She's the one that calls Mr. John and lets him know that he needs to get on it and buy that. And so speaking of getting on that, you'll notice I have a new machine in that picture. And that machine is the machine that my friend Kara ended up buying from Miss Debbie Davis. And then I ended up getting it for my birthday because Kara nudged Mr. John to get it for me. So all comes full circle, right? And everyone needs a nudger in their life, and Kara's my nudger. So, but I love this picture because it's still warm. This is still evolving, but you can tell it's changed a little bit. And then it looked like this. And you guys, this is where it might get a little bit inappropriate. We kind of laughed. Yeah, Kara, it is a gift. You are gifted for sure. So when I start, this is the next phase of my room, and you'll notice now I have a sewing cabinet where I didn't have that before. This sewing cabinet was a horn sewing cabinet from eons ago, but I found it on Marketplace. And if you never ever think about how you might be able to afford a nice sewing cabinet, they're on Marketplace all the time. Estate sales, you can find these all over the place. What I loved about this one, I got it for $150. Now that's not normal, but I was so excited. I will never forget the day that I called my husband and I'm like, hey, I am going to pick up this sewing cabinet. And I drove like a small SUV at the time. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to fit this in here, but I'm going to make it work. And by golly, I did make it work. And I got it in the back of my car, and I headed home with it. I was so excited. And this was that cabinet. So you can find great deals like that. And this was a perfect solution for me. I loved the idea that I could have my sewing machine in my cabinet and sew ergonomically. And that was really important to me. But you'll notice there's also a wall hanging there. And this was my friend Jeannie gave me this little box of different patterns for the year. And it was one of the first ones for like January, and it was supposed to be like snowflakes. But it looked what we would call a little bit phallic. And I'll just leave it right there. So anyway, I said, I don't know if I need to hang that in my quilt studio. So I kind of took it down and it got rolled up and put away. But it is the first thing that I ever free motion quilted. So it is kind of special to me just because, frankly, it was one of the first things I did. The next phase of my room came during COVID, you guys, and I was bored out of my mind. I was bored, and I'm like, I hate this carpet in here. And PJ, if you guys have been following me for a while, she is quite the show. And she also, that was her room. She stayed in my quilt room, and that was where she slept. But that's also where she pottied every once in a while. And I was over it. I was done with the carpet. She wouldn't tinkle on anything that was like hard surface. So I'm like, okay, that's it. Carpet's got to go. And so my sweet husband, we pulled all this carpet out. We cleaned the floor, we sealed the floor, and then we painted it. And I loved how it turned out. And so if at the time I'm like, we don't have the money saved to replace the floors, and we don't have this and that, I can just paint it. And this is a great option. And I loved this floor for a very long time. I had my grandchildren, they came over, and I would paint the bottom of their feet, and they got little spots to put their footprints, and it's still under there. We've got wood floors now, but I love that feature. And, it made it easy for me to roll my chair around. So don't be afraid to do things like that. If you're not ready to make a decision or a permanent decision on flooring, or you just sick of carpet. Some people love carpet. I just didn't really like it. And I had a little dog that was just naughty. And so this worked out really well for me. But this was the next stage of my room. And I just think it turned out great. And it brightened up that space because it was kind of dark. But now you guys can see the way it is now. And I love the space now. I've had a lot of questions about what color my room is. Kara is also responsible for the color of this room. It's the color of her bathroom, but it is Sherwin-Williams sea salt. So if you're ever curious, that's what the color of this room is. Sherwin-Williams sea salt. So now my room looks like this. Some of the things that I've changed and added and done over the years has been a new fan. I wanted a white fan because everything's white. And you'll notice my Martelli table's gone because it was black and like black in my space. And I wanted white. And so when I worked with Horn to replace my Martelli table and my sewing cabinet, and Kara's sister Krista has my sewing cabinet, which is fantastic. It stayed in the family. But my Horn table, this does both, and it's big and it goes up and down and it has all the things that I needed in one piece of furniture. So that gave me the opportunity to have I'm still able to have my sweet rocking chair in here for when my grandkids are here, and I stitch in that chair and I do all those kinds of things. So anyway, all of that to say this, it has evolved, and it didn't start out looking like this. It looked like what you just saw. So I hope that gives you some inspiration, and just you can walk away knowing, hey, it doesn't look like this, but that's okay. It can look however you want it to look. But get in there and enjoy your space. It doesn't have to be chaotic. It does not have to be chaotic. I think you can have a functional, beautiful space to work in and enjoy it. So, oh, hi, John from Art East. Everybody say hello to John from Art East. He is actually going to be on the podcast this weekend. You guys will love it. It's going to be so fun. And he's the designer of Winnie 100 Acre Woods back here. And I love his stuff. So make sure you go check out Art East. It's wonderful, wonderful stuff. Okay. Any questions about my sewing room? I'm happy to answer some questions. Sewing room is so organized. Yes, thank you. I work hard to keep it organized. It doesn't always stay organized, but I do take a few trips around the world and make sure that it stays neat. I try to clean up after every sewing session. So that's important to me. Oh, love PJ. So cute. She is so cute. She's a little mess. If you need to find the 100 Acre pattern, John, I'm sure you can tell everybody where they can find it. John's got some really cool ones coming too very soon. He's going to be doing Anne of Green Gables, which is out there. You can pre-order that. And the Mad Hatter, which I just pre-ordered. So I'm very excited. Okay, I'm going to get into now talking about our block along that we're going to start. I did post this on Instagram, but I will drop some links after the show today. I'll make sure that these are in some of the show notes so that you can find a link. If it's out of stock, because some of you are just eager beavers and you just go, yes, I want that book. If it's out of stock, there's lots of other people carrying it. So I'll see if I can drop other links so that you can find it. But it is this book, and it is Jennifer Chiaverini's Harriet's Journey from Elm Creek Quilts. And if you've not read any of the Elm Creek Quilt books, they are so good. I love them. They give me all the feels. You can feel like you're just sitting there stitching along with the ladies, and they're just fantastic. Oh, hi, Dawn Denny, Fort Smith, my hometown, representing. Hello. Anyway, we are going to work on this. Now, I know that you're going to look at this book and go, oh my God, there's 100 blocks in this book. Yes, there are. We are not going to do 100 blocks. Now, you are welcome to do 100 blocks if you want to. We are going to do about 25 blocks. And the reason I picked 25 blocks is because I thought, that's 25 weeks. If we did one a week, that's 25 weeks. That's lots of fun for 25 weeks. Also, It is the perfect size for a wall hanging. And if you've looked at any of my pictures in my room, right now I've got a little heart wall hanging up on my quilt rack. It's got the perfect size, and it's about 30 by 30. That's what the size of this would be. And so this is going to be a lot of fun. It'll be really easy and good to work through together. So we're going to work on this one. I have not picked out the blocks yet. I'm gonna seek some advice from a trusted advisor to see which ones we want to tackle. I do think applique may not be something we tackle, just simply because I don't know that everybody really loves to do applique. I like applique, but I don't know that everybody will. So what we might do is give an option the week that if I don't know, I haven't even thought about this, but if you want to try applique, you can, or you can swap it out with another block. Who cares? It's your quilt. It's your quilt. You get to do with whatever you want with it. How long did it take you to start getting perfect 1/4 inch seams after you started sewing? It is so hard. I think it's a matter of just sitting and practicing and making sure you really get to know your machine. It changes. Like if I switch from one machine to another, it's like retraining my brain. Like if I go sew on one of my featherweights, it's a completely different experience than it is on my Juki. On the Bernina I could not get a perfect 1/4 inch to save my life. It doesn't mean that it doesn't give one. It does, obviously. I just couldn't get comfortable with it. I think it just takes time, and you just have to work at it. How large are the blocks in the quilt along? They are 6.5 inch blocks unfinished. So you're going to have a lot of fun with these. They're going to be a sweet little size. And when you get them all put together, we'll do 5 rows of 5, and it's going to be fabulous. So that's kind of where we're going with this. Any questions about the quilt along? We will probably start this in a couple of weeks, just simply because I want to make sure everybody has a chance to get their books in. But this goes along with the actual book. So if you're a reader, you're going to love doing this one because it's a lot of fun. This is going to be a lot of fun to kind of latch onto and stitch along and know like, oh gosh, these were some of the quilt blocks that they talked about in the books. So I will show you one of the finished pictures. This is if you did all 100 blocks, which again, we're not going to, but you can imagine like how cute, like a 5 by 5 will look just hanging up in your quilt room. I cannot wait. I think it's going to be so much fun. I have not picked out my fabric yet. I've got lots of fun fat 1/4 bundles. I'm probably going to use fat 1/4 bundle. I love when designers pick out all the colors for me. I know I have to think about it. So I will probably pick a fat 1/4 bundle, and I will use either like Bella 200 as my background. I actually just ordered, Missouri Star Quilt had a big sale on bolts. And so I ordered a couple of different bolts from them. So we'll see how those go. But I will be sharing that over probably next week on which fat 1/4 bundle I have picked to do our block along. Let's see, material requirements. Yes, they are going to be at the very beginning. And let me find it real quick. I can kind of give you an idea. If you're going to do all 100, so that's kind of where I'm like, you're probably not going to do all 100. But if you were to do all 100, it's calling for, quite a bit of light beige because that's your background. So you're going to need a background fabric. And then it calls for some yardage. So, let me figure out what you're going to need. I'm going to use fat 1/4s. I think this is a stash buster, you guys. I think you can do this as a stash buster, and it's going to be fun. Let's see. Featherweight and FAF have the most accurate 1/4 inch seams. Oh, that's great to know. I love my featherweight. It's super fun. Yes, scrap friendly for sure. You're making 6.5 inch blocks. You can definitely use your scraps. I would totally use scraps. Do you ever use darker colored backgrounds to make the blocks pop? I have not. I've done a darker color on one quilt, and it's my husband's American flag quilt that I did through Primitive Gatherings, and it's gorgeous. And I don't know why I'm scared because it's probably one of the prettiest quilts I've ever made. I love that one. Let's see. Did I miss anything? I'm scared as a newer quilter. Don't be scared. Nope. There's nothing to be scared of. We're going to do this together, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Okay. Any other questions before I move on? I'm happy to answer any questions you have. So I'm not going to keep everybody a million hours tonight. This is our first one, and I'm just excited that you're a part of this. Thank you for joining me. We are going to do a little giveaway. This little fat quarter bundle, it's by Andover, and y'all, I think this is probably one of the prettiest ones. But I want you to just comment why you joined today's live stream. I'm going to select a winner next week. So I'm going to show you what it looks like. Look at how pretty these fabrics are. I hope it's coming through really good on the camera, because I think the camera is gorgeous. Camera is good. Look at this. I love this paisley. Look at this one. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. Look at this. This is my jam, if y'all cannot tell. Look how cute that polka dot is. Oh, so cute. Look at this one. How pretty is this? You could put these together. So they all go together, but I love how that looks. You could make a cute little bag with that. And then this floral. Oh, so cute. So make sure you comment why you joined today's live stream, and I will pick a winner next week. I really appreciate you guys spending some time with me. I hope you go and make something beautiful and enjoy the rest of your week and the weekend. And I will see you soon.